Lesbian parents of Reddit. How did you decide who got pregnant? I have friends who used one wife's brother as the male donor. So obviously it had to be the other wife carrying. I'm really curious what the legal situation looks like for a scenario like that. How do you nullify the sperm donor's legal obligations to the child? That obviously must exist for something on a large scale like a sperm bank. But I wonder how you navigate that in a private transaction kind of scenario. I would gladly donate sperm to allow my friends to conceive, if they ask me, but only if I was certain that, if 3 years down the road if they divorce, I'm not suddenly stuck with child support, because I'm legally the father. Depends on state adoption and surrogacy laws. In most states you're on the hook until either of the following: 1, you donated through a licensed sperm bank, or 2, a court-approved parent adopts and takes your responsibility. The legal theory is basically burden is on you. We don't want to leave kids without 2 functional adults caring for them. And we also don't want to burden the taxpayers for your failings. My wife and I are good friends with a lesbian couple who had one carry the baby while they used the other's egg. Since one carried and the other is genetically the mother, they each have a special attachment to the baby. I thought it was really neat. I work with a lot of lesbian families. Usually, one might have a stronger desire to bear children, so that is the one who does. Sometimes both do, so they may each bear a child. Sometimes it's about genetics and someone with a condition or predisposition may ask the other to bear any children. Sometimes none want to bear children, so they adopt, foster, surrogate. It's usually just an honest conversation about who may want to give birth, if anyone. We met this awesome couple in our birthing class. They each carried a pregnancy using the same sperm donor, so their kids are biological half-siblings. They both wanted to experience pregnancy, but were happy with one each. They were not pregnant at the same time. Kids are 2 years apart. A good friend from college is married with a kid on the way. I asked her, and she said it came down to genetics. My friend's wife is BRCA positive, a breast cancer gene. So they agreed my friend should be the biological mother to prevent their kid from having to worry about it. Not a parent, but my wife and I are planning in that direction. My wife has no urge to carry a baby and doesn't want to pass her family's medical history on to another generation. I want to experience pregnancy and giving birth. The conversation was incredibly easy for us. My wife and I are just starting the process. I'm hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, going to carry first. I'm older than her, so I'm going first in hopes to catch my eggs before they turn to mush. I had a major blood clot a few years ago, so I have to be on blood thinner injections during pregnancy, which has made me go from wanting to carry twice to only wanting to carry once. 9 months of daily self-injections is a real bummer. We are hopefully both going to carry eventually using the same donor. We both decided to carry a baby at separate times. They are biologically related, since we use the same donor. I think the deciding factors were age, genetics and desire to go through a pregnancy. My wife had a harder time getting pregnant and sadly lost 2 babies during pregnancy. During those hard times we had discussed on several occasions that adoption was also an equally desirable option for our family. My wife is 5 years older than me, so we agreed she'd go first in case it took a while, or we had fertility issues we didn't know if either of us would have issues as we'd never tried before. We always planned on taking turns though. She gave birth to our daughter last June, and I'm 24 weeks pregnant with our son now. Same donor. We did DIY. I don't identify as lesbian, but our female was married to a woman for 8 years. We are divorced and co-parenting right now. I wanted to be the one to carry both of the children. We decided that was the best idea due to her physically demanding job. I gave birth to our daughter first and a few years later tried for our son. However, I found out I had ovarian cysts, so my wife at the time said she would try one time to see if it worked for her, and it did. She gave birth to our son. So, to answer the question, it was more of medical necessity that both of us had one child, and yes, they both have the same father. Questions like this make me wonder how often the male-female aspect of this gets reported, as in, how often do lesbian couples form an agreement with gay couples? Gay couples provide sperm. Lesbian couples provide the other half of the equation and act as a surrogate in exchange for the genetic material. That would be an arrangement that would make sense to me. But I'm neither gay nor lesbian and have no desire to be a surrogate. Ultimately we will both carry a child, but as my partner is older, she had our first child. I feel so lucky to be able to experience motherhood from both sides. Pretty unique situation. Opportunistic. So while we are on the subject, please don't ask two mum families how the child was conceived. If you don't ask straight couples who provided the sperm and egg, don't ask us. It's extremely invasive and, quite frankly, creepy. Since most of these comments are not from actual lesbians, hi, lesbian here. My wife and I have an 11-month-old son. She carried the baby because she has better genes, no cystic acne or severe mental illness for starters, and is a few years younger than me. Also, I've never wanted to be pregnant for like a gazillion reasons. So many that I could probably write a book. So it was her or no baby. One couple I know didn't choose. They both got pregnant at the same time. Everyone turned out well. But afterwards they both agreed that was a really dumb move. Their words, not mine, as there were many small and big things they couldn't do for each other through the latter months of the pregnancies, as they both needed simultaneous help. They were very lucky they had a lot of help from other people around them. I have a lesbian sister. She's very clearly the masculine one in the relationship. Her wife had their baby about 4 years ago. Imagine the ducking surprise when I saw a picture yesterday of my sister carrying 9 months from her due date, just pregnant as can be. I'm not judgmental, of course. I'm just shocked because she was always the boy even in her toddler years. Not a parent yet, but my fiance and I are planning in roughly 3 years time. She wants to have a pregnancy by age 30 because of PCOS to be expecting. We both are hoping to bear a child and will likely stop at 2 kids. Hopefully within 2 years of each other, but biology does what it will. We also hope to use the same sperm donor, so our kids have a genetic link of some kind. We don't want to use someone we know though, because that is awkward as duck with our personal relationships. With the goal of 1 child and 2 mothers wanting to carry, I'm not sure what to say. Pregnancy, however terrible it can be, is something I want to experience. The same with my partner. It would be a very long conversation for me to give that up. I would if I agreed with her arguments, because I refuse to be totally irrational with children. But it would be a very hard decision. Should one of us miscarry, I don't know what will happen. If it's me, we'll probably try again, but if it's her, I wonder if she wants to, with her family history of difficult birth and birth defects after the 20s. It's up in the air, but I love her, and more importantly trust her to do what she feels is right for our family. When we've discussed our concerns, we will meet what comes with a thorough conversation about how these events may play out. The miscarriage subject is one I intend to have when we start trying. My sister and her wife both carry a baby. They use the same registered donor so that their daughters would have a biological parent in common. Their daughters are about 10 months apart. Legally where we live, this means that the person who carried the baby has sole custody of that baby. That is, in the event of a divorce, custody would not be a state mandated factor for determination. The birth certificate has optional lines for putting in paternity information. You cannot list another female there, so these lines have been left blank in these scenarios. Both of them wanted to have the experience of carrying a child. One was older by more than 5 years, so she went first. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.